Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome all of you to our month of February Clarity of Mind through Mindfulness session. Today, our topic is another section from Bhikkhu Bodhi's book, In the Buddha's Words, The Steps Towards the Realization of Truth. With great respect, I like to invite Most Venerable Panadure Chandarathana Thero to commence today's session. Good morning, Bante. Theruvan Saranai.
Okay, then actually, before we are getting to the today's topic, let's spend few minutes uh, establishing mindfulness. So I invite all of you to sit down properly in a comfortable position, calm down yourself, relax yourself, keep your head straight, neck straight, shoulders relaxed, arms may be resting on your lap, upper half of the body straight. Maintaining a fairly comfortable straight posture. Don't make the posture rigid, but keep it little flexible. But we are maintaining a fairly uplifted position. Now you can gently close your eyes. Now once we close our eyes, probably you might feel, okay, I am alone, I am secluded. Even though there may be people around us, we don't need to worry about them. So I am alone now. Now you can take a deep breath, hold it for a while, slowly release. Now see whether you can recognize some subtle sensations within this body. Eyes are gently closed. Probably you can recognize some subtle sensation at your eyelids. Lips are gently touching. There's a soft sensation there as well. Jaws are not tightly coupled. There are no wrinkles in your forehead. We are not trying to think about any kind of a problem. So we are in a kind of lighter mind, a relaxed mind. And we are trying to enjoy each and every moment at the present moment. So you can have a slight smile. Nothing to worry about the past. No worries about the future. Let's enjoy the present moment, at least for some time. So no need to bring anything from the past or project towards the future, fully in the present moment, embracing the present moment. So let's keep our attention at the nostril. Try to recognize each in-breath, each out-breath. And if your mind is wandering, probably you can include noting to the picture. So once you know in-breath happens, you can note it as in. Once you know out-breath happens, you can note it as out. So give a kind of an assignment to the mind not to miss any in-breaths, not to miss any out-breath. Try to be aware of each in breath, each out breath. In a way, quite simple, no other task, not a burden to the mind. The body naturally breathes, and it's a matter of establishing mindfulness on each in breath, each out breath. As we are able to develop mindfulness, probably the number of breaths on which you can be mindful become more and more, become increased continuously. So you are mindful about many breaths now. Now probably you can recognize some subtle aspects of breathing. Beginning, the middle, the end of the in-breath, the gap between in-breath and out-breath, beginning, middle, end of the out-breath, gap between out-breath and in-breath. So we are closely examining the whole cycle. So let's get into the today's topic. We'll first pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So as Shalika mentioned, we are moving towards one of the interesting book compiled by Bhikkhu Bodhi, which is the Buddha in the teachings in the Dhamma. Actually, he has compiled several suttas together, taking here and there, so that kind of a proper path being introduced to the reader. So today we have taken another topic from that, the steps towards the realization of the truth. So Chaṅki Sutta. It's a very, very interesting sutta, and again, fairly profound one, and in a way, little longer one. But I am not going to in detail of the whole thing. I am trying to give you a rough idea about the content of the sutta. So while Buddha was dwelling at one particular place, which is a Brahmin village, Brahmin Chaṅki and several other Brahmins visited him to pay respect. Brahmin Chaṅki actually is a teacher, and he has certain amount of faith towards the Buddha. So when other people are accompanying to meet the Buddha and to discuss, so he also joined. And among them, so one of the students of this Chaṅki is called Karpatika. So Karpatika is the student who is actually a fairly an intelligent guy, and he also there in the audience. So what happened was this this Karpatika is actually still a young person. He's just 16 years old, even though he is quite intelligent. So what happened was, so once these elder Brahmins start discussion with the Buddha from about various topics, Karpatika again and again try to participate, try to interrupt in a way. So at that moment, Buddha stopped him, telling, okay, Karpatika, you need to be mindful. So don't disturb the elders. So wait till you get your chance. So while the elders are discussing with me, don't interrupt. This is a kind of a insult, in a way, kind of a advice given to the Karpatika. So anyway, he becomes silent. But anyway, the Chaṅki, the teacher, actually mentioned to the Buddha, Bante, this Karpatika is a very intelligent guy. He's well versed in the three Vedas, and he's a really intelligent person. Maybe he is also capable of participating to our discussion. So this Chaṅki, being the teacher, actually has given some provision to Karpatika. And then a thought occurred to Karpatika: whenever Buddha is looking at me, let it that be the uh, kind of a opening for me to discuss, an invitation me to participate. So till that, let me calm down. So this kind of a thought occurred to Karpatika. And then Buddha, after a while, understood, okay, now it is the time to take Karpatika also into the discussion. So he looked at him. He looked at Karpatika. Now Karpatika comes to the situation where he is giving a interesting point. He's highlighting an interesting point to the Buddha. The ancient Brahmin hymns passed down through oral tradition are the only truth. Everything else is false. So this is the kind of traditional view they are holding. So the Brahmins are believing that they inherit certain hymns coming from the old generations. So that is completely true. Whatever happening right now, whatever the new teachings or whatever other teachings, all are false. Anyway, whatever this all traditional teachings coming from the past, from previous generation, Brahmin generations, so that is the truth. So this is how Karpatika coming to the picture. He is putting this argument to the Buddha. Bante, what do you think about this? So this is the belief that we are holding. What do you think? So now Buddha first question, Karpatika, if any Brahmin, including their teachers, their ancestors, ancient seers, have they directly verified this claim? Now, the point is we keep on believing someone's assertion, someone's statement. So basically, have they anybody who has that you have recognized that they verified it? Say we are believing a particular point. At any given moment, are we trying to verify it? Is it true? have we gone in a kind of experimental or experiential path to verify it? Now, Karpatika has to say no. There is no one has seen or no one has properly verified this traditional truth. So it's in a way a kind of a blind tradition. It's based on a blind faith. And it is, even though it is coming from generation to generation, no one has thoroughly verified it, no one has thoroughly realized it. But anyway, they are believing it. So then it's a kind of a blind belief. It's a kind of a blind faith. So here, Buddha do not like to agree with such kind of a teaching. A line of blind men, each holding on to the one in front, unable to see. It's a kind of a line of blind leading the blind. So previous one also blind. He didn't see properly, but he mentioned something. The others, the followers also believe. They also don't verify. They also can't see. So it's a kind of a blind leading the blind. So therefore, Buddha didn't want to emphasize or appreciate this kind of a tradition. And so the lesson he is highlighting is the knowledge, if it is merely passed down without any direct insight, without any experiential verification, then we can't accept it as the truth. It is quite unreliable. Now, as Buddhists, so we also have certain beliefs. We also have some faith. So are we experientially verified this? Are we thoroughly understood this? Have we practiced and have then as the insights? Or are we superficially believing this? So this is a question even valid to us. So we also have some traditional teachings. Are we able to verify them? Or are we simply blindly following them? So when it comes to the Buddha's teaching, one important aspect of the Buddha's teaching is this ability to verify, ability to investigate, to inquire. We are not supposed to blindly believe. Rather, Buddha opens the discussion, opens the forum, telling, okay, don't simply believe me, don't simply believe the teaching. You got to verify, you got to analyze, you got to inquire. Then only you may be able to thoroughly understand, properly, experientially understand it. So this is a very important aspect of the Buddha's teaching. It is not based on the blind faith. At the beginning, we may have certain amount of a faith which is not yet thoroughly verified. But it doesn't mean that we have to continuously maintain such approach. Rather, as we are maturing, as we are continuing, there's a fair amount of chance, fair amount of a possibility available for us to verify the teaching. More we investigate, more we verify, more we practice, trying to practically verify further and further improves the understanding in us. Say, for example, you may be into the practice now, say, several years. But before you begin the practice, you only had a kind of a superficial idea about the Buddha's teaching. You might have heard about him, you might have heard about the kind of ancient figure appeared as the Gautama Buddha, and maybe his teaching propagated towards many countries, particularly during the King Asoka. So all that probably you have heard, and you also have read a couple of books, and now you have some idea about the Buddha's teaching, but still superficial. You haven't seen the Buddha through the Dhamma. You haven't yet verified the Dhamma either. You haven't yet internalized the Dhamma, but to some extent you have some faith. This is acceptable. This is quite all right. But we are not supposed to stop here. So Buddha invites us to come and see, come and further verify. So that is where the practice lies. And the practice is quite important for us to further and further do this investigation. So we are trying to internalize the teaching and we are trying to further understand the teaching. On the other hand, as we are continuing, we can understand, okay, certain qualities, certain aspects of the teaching is now inculcated in my mind also. Previously, I have only heard about them. But now, to some extent, I also have understood them, or I also have developed them. In my mind, also, certain amount of mindfulness is available now. Previously, I have heard about mindfulness. I have heard about the Satipatthana. But now, my mind also has certain amount of mindfulness. Previously, I have heard about the samadhi, concentration, but now my mind also has certain amount of samadhi. Previously, I have heard about many different kinds of vipassana knowledges. Time to time, when I am practice, I also now experience certain insights. So likewise, slowly, the practice become available to us, practice become more practical to us. Now it is no more superficial blind belief. Rather, you yourself become a evidence to the path, evidence to the practice. Now, here, after giving a brief introduction to Karpatika, now Buddha comprehensively explained him what are the available different forms to acquire some knowledge. So he start with the faith, believing because of personal trust. Say someone is telling something and we can simply trust him. So whatever the content he is talking, so we can believe because we have certain trust, we have certain faith. So this is the typical general way that we start with. So as Buddhist, our parents were say Buddhist, they are also telling something with regarding the Buddhism. And as we go to the college, school, they are also telling something regarding to the religion. And probably I have certain faith, so I believe. I take that person as trustworthy, and so I believe what he is talking. So this is merely based on the faith. And even at the school, probably if you are learning different subjects, it is not that we really have gone to all those locations, all those places, all those experiments, but our teachers are explaining and mentioning, okay, so and so has done this experiment, these are the results, so this is how it has happened. So they are giving some reasonable explanation, so we trust it and we believe it. So not only with respect to the religion, even with respect to any other subject, we start accepting it, we start believing it based on the faith. So faith is not only related to the religion, it is even available even the typical today's education system, because we are not investigating each and every point what our teachers are talking. There's a fair amount of information we simply believe because we trust. Now, another approach Buddha mentioned is called the ruchi or approval. You have certain inclination towards certain personal inclination towards a certain teaching. Some information is available and you have some kind of an inclination, some kind of a like. And you like it. You like that belief. You like that view. You like that teaching. It is not merely faith, but you have certain bias towards that teaching. Therefore, you accept it. Therefore, you believe it. Therefore, you are learning it. So, this is called another way how one is gathering information, because it is kind of a self approval is there. So, whatever different teachings are available, so among those different teachings, you are approaching a particular one because there is some self interest. Personal liking is there. So, you start practicing it, you start investigating it, further learning it. So this is another approach Buddha mentioned, how one is acquiring knowledge, and it is called the approval, or in Pali it is called ruchi. And as you already discussed, the oral tradition is another technique. Maybe most of the religious practices are based on this kind of an oral tradition. So from generation to generation, all the information, all the beliefs are passed down to the other generation. And now we becomes the bearers of the teaching. We took the teaching from the previous generation and now we have it. And so we simply believe it. So this is what Buddha mentioned to Karpatika. So how this oral tradition continues. what we call the Anussava in Pali. So the oral tradition continues. So from generation to generation, that information, that knowledge being transferred. And the point is, in any of these cases, even though, for example, assume that I have certain trust towards a person, I am having certain faith about a person. As a result of that, now I am believing, I am accepting that teaching. But that doesn't guarantee that it is the truth. The truth might be there or might not be there. So therefore, even though we have certain faith, it doesn't guarantee that what we are being faithful, what we are studying, really is the truth, or it might not even have the truth. The truth might be available at some other place. We still don't have any faith in. So that danger is there in this model. Now, say you are accepting certain teaching because of your personal liking, kind of a personal approval. But how are you going to guarantee that what you have expected, what you have a certain liking towards, actually has the truth? So there is no such guarantee. It might or might not have the truth. So similarly, even though a certain teaching coming from generation to generation, a kind of an oral tradition, if someone is not really verified and understood it to the best, realized it to the best, if it is a mere information, as already we discussed, a kind of a blind belief coming from generation to generation, then we can't say it is carrying the truth. It becomes merely a holding of some information. So we have become the bearers of the information, bearers of some teaching. Anyway, the oral tradition is another aspect, another methodology that available for us to gather information, gather some knowledge, gather some beliefs. But it doesn't guarantee what we have accepted, what we have gathered, what we have remembered, basically has the truth or not. We can't say like that. And then another reason or another methodology is called logic and reasoning, akara parivitakka. So you do some kind of a conclusion based on some intellectual analysis. So this appear like a fairly better one compared to the previous ones. But anyway, this depends on someone's intellectual capacity. What is his IQ? So this is somewhat dependent on his intellectual capacity. And on the other hand, even though intellectually he has some conclusion, it is still not guaranteed what he has accepted, what he has believed is the truth. It might be the truth, it might not be the truth. So this logical reasoning is another way that you are able to acquire knowledge. Then we are coming to the last one. It's called contemplation. Ditti nijjhana kanti, where certain different beliefs are there, certain different views are there, and you are thinking about them deeply for a long time. And after deeply thinking about them, you accept in them. That's another way of gathering some information, aligning with a certain teaching, aligning with a certain belief. So this is another method that Buddha mentioned, which are available even today for us to believe a certain teaching. So this might or might not lead to the truth, by the way. We can't guarantee. We can't guarantee whether any of my faith, what I have acquired through faith, is the truth. It will definitely lead me to the final attainment. We can't verify. Similarly, the approval, similarly, the oral tradition, logical reasoning, contemplation, all are having certain kind of a risk. But that doesn't mean we have to have an entire doubt about all this. So we are coming to that point, and so then the preservation of the truth is coming to the discussion. So Buddha is talking about the preservation of the truth. So how to preserve the truth? So basically, he is mentioning all these five possibilities you use, and for the time being, you take it as the truth, but keeping some provision. This is what I have heard. This is my belief, but avoid any rigid conclusions. Only this is the truth, everything else is false, then you are going to an extreme. It's all right if something has coming from generation and now you are the bearer and you can hold it, you can sort of believe it, but don't become an extremist telling, okay, this is the truth, only truth, everything else is entirely false. Then you are going to an extremist view. So the Buddha's approach is preserve the truth without attachment until direct understanding arises. So even though you are currently believing something and you are accepting it and you are preserving it, still maintain some provision to further enhance, further investigate. And there may be another better teaching. There may be another area that you haven't understood. There may be other teachers. So therefore, giving this kind of an approach, fairly an open-minded approach, is very important key teaching of the Buddha. Yeah, he doesn't want to dogmatically accept any belief blindly. Rather, even his teaching, he is asking us to inquire. Even his teachings, he is asking us to practice and verify. So that's a very, very important aspect of the Buddha's teaching. So that's why it is quite open and inviting us to come and see, come and practice, so that we ourselves can experientially understand it. Then it is no more a blind belief. Then it becomes an experiential knowledge, and no one can argue it, refute it, because you yourself have understood it. You yourself has become an evidence to the teaching. You have internalized it. So this aspect is very, very important. So the preservation of the truth means, so we already discussed these five methods. Okay, use any of these five methods, acquire some knowledge, you preserve it, you protect it, but keeping some provision to further growth, for further inquiry, without too much attaching to what you believe, too much attaching to what you hold, not thinking this is the only truth, everything else is false. Don't go to an extremist view. So this is how Buddha approaches this case. And then if you are properly trying to investigate, now he is talking about the discovery of the truth. So now you are going to discover it. Now, actually, here the traditional approach towards a teacher is explained. Someone is hearing uh, about a person, about an individual, a spiritual person, and he try to verify him. He little approach him and see whether his behavior is pretty good. His activities are not driven by greed, hatred, delusion. So he is a fairly a worthy person. So the outer look. So this is also important. So when you are trying to find a teacher, looking his behavior. Is he maintaining good conduct? Is he maintaining good moral standard? And he's not hating or harming the others. He's not behaving in a deluded, ignorant manner. So he's maintaining a fairly good character. So all these are still certain outside parameters. But anyway, these are also important, which reflects his internal understanding. So his external behavior fairly reflects what he's understood. Now, once these defilements are absent, greed, hatred, delusion, and you feel some confidence, now you develop some faith towards that teacher, and you probably visit that teacher, and you start listening to his Dhamma, and you start memorizing them, examining them further within your mind. And after reflecting, you start accepting it. And now, what you have accepted, you want to verify. Now, this is very important. So don't stop by merely superficially accepting things, but now you need to practically implement it. So this is very, very important. You need to verify it by yourself. So this self-investigation, or we can say Ariya Pariyesana, a noble investigation is something that you need to start. You are starting the practice. So that is where we particularly highlight in the meditation practice. Okay, you are practicing now. You are practicing mindfulness. For example, you are developing Satipatthana. You are trying to establish mindfulness because that is one important aspect to realize the Dhamma. So it is not merely reading a book and writing to the paper. Rather, whatever the qualities, whatever the skills explained in those suttas, those teachings, we ourselves have to develop within our mind. If you have heard about mindfulness, okay, you need to develop mindfulness. If you have heard about samadhi, concentration, okay, you need to develop samadhi. If you have heard about panya, the wisdom, you need to develop that wisdom. So likewise, all different qualities that Buddha highlights, saying that these are important, necessary to develop, now we need to practically get involved and start developing them. Now, this is the point that we are putting ourselves into the practice. It's very, very crucial in our life. So if we simply superficially touch the teaching, it doesn't guarantee that we internalize them. Rather, if we are practically trying to develop them, then we are at a better position. And while you are practicing, you need to apply some effort because the path may be still vague. You can't really realize certain difficulties are there. So you are doing some kind of a striving and you are now trying to develop these qualities. So as typically we discuss in the Vipassana practice. So after you have certain amount of mindfulness, concentration, and balanced effort, now probably you can use those skills to verify different phenomena, conditioned phenomena, and slowly, you may be able to understand the reality, seeing things as they truly are. So now you have, to some extent, realized the truth. Okay, this is a kind of a universal reality. So all the conditioned phenomena are impermanent. All the conditioned phenomena can't provide lasting happiness. All conditioned phenomena are void of any self. So likewise, after a proper investigation, one may come to realization. Now, now the arrival of the final truth. Now, as you are continuing the investigation, as you are doing your discovery, ultimately you arrive the destination. So now the truth is fully realized through practice, repetition, cultivation. Now here Buddha talks about particularly three stages: preservation of the truth, discovery of the truth, and final arrival of the truth. Satchanupatti, Satchanurakkana, and ultimately the Satchanupatti. We started with Satchanurakkana, that we start preserving the truth. We start liking it, we start preserving it, we start reading it, reflecting it. And then the discovery of the truth happens when we really experiencing it, applying it. And ultimately, as a result of that practice, you arrive the truth. In a way, we can say you become the truth. Final arrival at the truth. So attaining wisdom through deep practice. So therefore, so Buddha's approach is quite comprehensive. He doesn't want to deny all the teachings, deny all the other religions. Whatever you have, you can start believing, but keeping some provision for further growth. So don't think that this is the truth, everything else is false. Probably this is also true, and there may be certain other better truth available. So have some kind of a open-minded attitude. And now once you find a good teacher, listen to the Dhamma, realize them, try to analyze it, develop further understanding. Now you come to a level, okay, I need to practice it. I can't simply superficially touch this. I need to internalize these teachings. Probably I have heard enough about mindfulness, but I want to develop it. I have heard about concentration, but I want to develop it. I have heard about various vipassana knowledges, but I want to have them. It is no more in the book, but it is in my mind. So likewise, your approach is an entirely practical approach now, where you are internalizing the teaching. As a result of that, you are arriving the truth, attaining the wisdom through deep practice. Now, at the end of the sutta, Buddha talks about various steps, step by step process of how truth is attained. So at first, maybe a little bit of faith arising, and then on a particular person, and you approach that person, you pay respect, and you listen to him, listen to the Dhamma, memorizing the teaching, and you yourself examining their meaning, and a little bit of pondering and accepting the teaching, and desire for practice, as we already discussed. Now the desire for practice is there. Now you are putting some effort. Now you do practice, and as a result of that, you come into the direct realization. So in conclusion, so the point is, so Buddha did not simply accept a blind faith, because he says this blind faith is unreliable and truth needs to be investigated. The point is, we can't say that immediately I found the truth. Maybe or may not be. Probably you have gone to a different category, different sect, different belief, and truth may be at another place. So therefore, we can't 100% guarantee that I have arrived the truth immediately. My first choice is also the best choice, the correct choice. You can't say like that. Probably I might have gone wrong. So if I am maintaining kind of an open attitude, still a possibility is there for me to grow. And Buddha provides a method for discarding the truth based on direct experience. And faith should not be a kind of a play stopper. Rather, it should be leading to a further inquiry, further practice, and then the realization. Now, for us, basically, how do we discern truth in our own lives? Have we done any kind of a realization? Have we done any kind of a verification? Or are we simply blindly believing? Are we into the practice now? So these are the questions we honestly have to ask even as Buddhists. So as Buddhists, probably you have heard about the Buddha's teaching. You might have a fair amount of faith on the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. But if we are not yet into the practice, we can't say that we are into the second level, the discovering the path, discovering the truth. We are still onto the superficial level. So therefore, the Dhamma, the Buddha's teaching is always inviting us to come and see. Ehi passiko. So once we put it into practice and further verify it, further and further develop those skills into our mind, further and further faith develops actually. That's the interesting thing. Previously, you had certain amount of faith, but that faith is further enhancing, further deeply rooting, because now you have some experiential knowledge also. It is no more a superficial belief now. You yourself is now have verified it. Now the faith towards the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha is further developed. So that's why, for example, when someone attains Sotapanna, stream entry, then it is said that he is having unwavering faith towards the Buddha, unwavering faith towards the Dhamma, unwavering faith towards the Sangha. And he has fair amount of confidence about his own practice because he has done that. He has developed his practice practically. So now the faith is not a blind type of a faith. Rather, it is based on the facts, based on his own concrete evidence. So his mind has certain good qualities to prove it. So therefore, it is an unwavering type of faith. So whenever we are doing our practice, so having some kind of an inquiry nature, a seeking nature, truth seeking nature is very important rather than simply lying or biased towards a certain tradition. So therefore, Buddha gives us this open invitation or giving us this open attitude. And as we further practice, probably we get the chance to see the Buddha through the Dhamma. So Dhamma is available. Now we are taking a very profound approach to see the Buddha, not by visiting Buddha Gaya or any other place. Rather, you are seeing the Buddha through the Dhamma. You are practicing the Dhamma, you are internalizing the qualities that Buddha has mentioned. More you internalize those, more you have various insights, more and more trust arise towards the Buddha. What a kind of a teacher, what a kind of a marvelous spiritual master Buddha is. Because you yourself can kind of assess the marvelous qualities in the Buddha, because you have to some extent internalize those qualities. So this is the very interesting approach that Buddha advocates. So with that, I conclude today's Dhamma sermon. Now I like to open the session for questions. No questions, Shalika. So everybody realized.
It seems very fun. I really like that, it was the continuation of our last month topic. Like that Buddha said, like, just don't, how to investigate himself. So,
Yeah.
Gishan, please go ahead and you can unmute and present your question.
So, Bante, thank you for the teaching. I hope you can hear us, or
Yes.
hear
Yes.
me rather.
Yes.
So, just to bring, since nobody's asking the question, is it okay if you can revisit how to revalidate if somebody sort of say something towards their belief systems, or we hear there are so many monks who sort of who give sermons, certain things maybe not aligning or maybe aligning, and how are we supposed to sort of identify them that these are the right type of Dhamma or teaching? So I know that there is a method of validation, what Buddha has talked about, and would that be proper at this stage, just to sort of revisit that question?
Yeah. So basically, so these are the common approaches explained in this particular sutta, which are available for us to gather some kind of an insight, still superficial level. So you have certain faith towards the Buddha, certain faith towards that particular teacher. So you start believing what he's telling, a kind of a trust is being developed. So that is necessary actually, because we can't verify everything and in one shot. So we have to trust a person. We have to trust the Buddha, trust the monk or whoever. Now, after doing that, it doesn't mean that we stop there. So slowly, we need to step into the internalization, step into the practical development. So that is where sometimes certain people are lacking. So probably they don't have time and they think that something else is more important than this spiritual verification or internalization or development of these spiritual qualities. So only a few people invest some time to develop these spiritual qualities. So we are here we are talking about this development of certain spiritual qualities, certain different spiritual skills. So through them only we can do the proper verification. Say different approaches are there. Now, say for example, if you refer, say, Nathakarana Sutta, the Nathakarana Sutta, so Buddha talks about different refuges. So your sila, the moral conduct, is one refuge. Then talking about, say, give me a second. Say moral conduct is one approach, and then having some learn information. So you have referred so many books, you have read so many books, you have heard many Dhamma talks. So likewise, you have some kind of a understanding about the teaching by learning. That's another asset in a way, another refuge we have. And then kalyana mitto hoti, that you have certain good friends. Probably they are better than you. Probably they are with more higher understanding than you. So probably now that is another blessing. So we always can approach them. We always can ask, and they are the Kalyana Mittas. So that is another area, Buddha say, as a refuge. And then you have a certain quality called Sovachassa Karaniya. Suvacho hoti. Sovachassa Karaniyehi Dhammehi. So I am referring here the Nathakarana Sutta. So there the idea is you are easy to admonish. You are not adamant. You are not kind of stubborn. Rather, when a Kalyana Mitra, when a good person approach you and tell something, you are easy to listen. You can easily listen to him, and you are ready to verify it, rather than believing that what you know is the truth, what you know is the only truth. I know the truth, I am attained. So rather than being such stubborn character, you have some humble, approachable character that someone can admonish you. So that is another quality that Buddha is talking in this Nathakarana Sutta. So it is also a refuge. Then if a person has seen certain drawbacks, certain shortcomings in you, probably they will approach you and tell you that, hey, this is not something good for you. Why don't you develop this? Why don't you change this? Why don't you abandon this? So likewise, if he is trying to admonish, so if we are maintaining kind of such affordable, approachable, say, character, then definitely that is a refuge. And then Buddha mentioned, okay, you need to be skillful with the whatever the activities you do, maybe you are in your profession, in your whatever the monkhood. So there may be certain activities that you need to be proficient. So that is also a refuge. And then you have certain inclination towards furthering your understanding. You like to further learn about the Dhamma. You like to further learn about the practice, learn about meditation. So that's kind of a some sort of a Dhamma kamo hoti, piya samudaharo, abhidamme abhivine ulara pamojjo. So like this is how Buddha explained there. So you have certain interest. I want to further practice. I want to further learn the Dhamma. So that is another factor for your further growth. And then aradha video viharati. So you are quite effortful, upright. And then with whatever the requisites you have certain contentment. It is not that every time you are with some frustration. Rather, you have certain contentment towards what you are having, in the sense, particularly your material wealth, you have certain contentment. Then only you have some time to invest in this spiritual path. Otherwise, your whole life will be spent towards unsatisfied desires into the material wealth. But if you have some contentment towards the available material wealth, then you have some time to invest in the spiritual path. Then last Buddha mentioned, you have to have the the mindfulness, which is also coupled with clear comprehension, the wisdom. And as a result of that, you are developing the wisdom, you are developing the insight knowledges, the practice in the vipassana. So likewise, in many different ways, Buddha tell us, so how the refuge have to be developed in our path. So I have taken just the Nātakarana Sutta available in Anguttara Nikaya Dasaka Nipata. So many different approaches, many different attributes Buddha explained so that we are not astray. We won't travel astray. Rather, we know a direction. We have a certain proper direction, proper guidance, particularly from the Buddha's teaching.
Very good, Bhante. Thank you for your explanation. You just elaborated so well. I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, Saranai.
Saranai.
So probably, Shalika, since there are no more questions, probably we can wind up the session.
Yeah, Bhante, thank you so much and much merits to you for the valuable Dhamma talk today. I wish you happiness and good health and a long life. Thero Saranai.
I also wish to every one of you good morning to someone and some people, and good night to the others, and particularly a good time for your spiritual growth. Thank you very much, Thero Saranai.
Thero Saranai.
Thero Saranai.
Thero Saranai, Swami Mahansa.